So I've drawn up this shape that I want to try to make in paper, and I'm going to use it on this little bit of cardboard here. And I'm just going to try to eyeball it because I couldn't cut the paper completely out down on that little frilly end there. So I'm just going to draw it, and I realized when I was looking here that you can't really see the pencil well, so I'm going to use a white charcoal that I use like to draw on canvases and stuff when I paint, when I've already tinted a canvas. So I'm just drawing this pattern out lightly at first. Draw it light until you get it right. And this is just a guideline. Now the first one I drew on paper, I drew it a little small, so I wanted to make this one a little bit bigger, which is why I'm not tracing it. You know, because obviously I don't have a cutter for something like this. Just playing around with my design here. So I'm going to cut as much of this out with scissors as I can. Okay, so I have my little kind of base templates. I know they're not perfect, but this is what I'm going for. And I have this scrap brown that we used a while back. It's a metallic that I made. And then I have this dark brown that's almost black. And I think I'm going to do a couple of these just to try to figure out what I'm doing here and how it's going to hang and everything. I think I'm going to use that. Now, when I hung this template up, it is hanging straight, not that you can see it, but sometimes if they're too heavy, they're gonna like pull one way or the other way. And so I want to try to get it to hang straight. Now I can hang it that way, or why I was putting the line is you could, from the point, hang it, drill your hole and hang it this way. So I don't know, I'm gonna play around. I'm bored, I'm gonna play around. So I think I'm gonna mix these two up here. And I think I'm going to use these, but again, use whatever colors you want to use, and once you see what I'm kind of going for, then you can kind of decide what you're going to do with it. Okay, so I've mixed that up, I've rolled it out, or I've rolled it out on a setting 2, and I'm just going to kind of take my roller to it just to kind of make sure it's down on my tile. Because again, usually I like to work on the tile I'm baking on if I'm going to be cutting out the shape. Okay. And I'm also trying to get out those roller marks. Now it is flat. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out how to actually do this and how I want to attempt to do this. Now I should have left this little lump in my cutout, but my cutout is just a template. And I might actually make a small one first, work out my kinks, and then go to a bigger one, is what I might do. So let's try that first. Let's just lay this on here. And I couldn't cut out this part. It was too small on the paper. And then this is more than just cardstock. This is actually cardboard that my office gets these sheets in between our postcards we send out for people's cleaning reminders. And they had a bunch of them, so they gave them to me, and I figured I'd use them. So I think what I'll do next is take a ball tool or like a needle tool and just kind of give myself some guidance by scoring my design. Now this was a metalworking piece of jewelry I saw. It was just a piece of jewelry that someone made out of metal, just a regular piece of jewelry, and I thought it was a beautiful pattern. So I'm kind of doing my own riff on it. Just like you see jewelry all day long on our Facebook news feeds and everything like that. Or on TV I see jewelry, you know, on antique jewelry and different things, so I try to look at stuff like that and see what I want to do. Get inspiration from all kinds of things. So it kind of gives you a mark here. I'm working more over here. I need to move my camera. So I guess what I'll do is I'll try to cut this out the best I can, and I can always fix my design up with my Dremel later. So I'm just going to take my craft knife. Let me see if this craft knife is better. Should sharpen them. I'll probably sharpen it before I do my next. If I make a bigger one, I'll probably sharpen this with my sharpening stone. Now we sharpen in the dental field, we sharpen our instruments that we do cleanings with all the time. So I have a dental stone from hygiene school, and that's what I use to sharpen these. When we sharpen our instruments, we hold our blade or instrument so it's facing us, and then you, well, the blade would be like this, and then you tilt it either to 1 or 11. So that's how I sharpen it, 1 or 11. I use my regular blades like that too. It's hard to, this one's pointier, so it might be easier to get in these little areas. But I need to leave it bulky enough. Now the design I saw in metal went really skinny right here, and there was no bulk. From this line to this line, there was no bulk. It like went to a wire. But in clay, you know, I'm going to have to leave some bulk here, and I'm going to have to leave some bulk so it lasts. So it's not exactly what I saw, obviously. Okay, I'm going to finish cutting this out. I'll fast forward it so I can keep it shorter. Now I'm going to just lightly texture it with a ball tool. Now I could have done this before, but probably touching it probably would have done it. So I'm just using like a medium. I'll use a small. I'm just going to go through and kind of texture it. I'm not worried that I have lines on here at all, because those will get covered up. I do think I'm going to use my Swelligant that I haven't used really much on this. I'm just going through and tapping it. Okay, so the other thing I did the other day, and I'm sorry my dog's barking, is I bought some Angelina film a long time ago thinking it was foils, and I believe I bought it off Crate Along. Don't quote me on that though. So I did a couple tests. First, and it peeled off the clay. So this is one where I put it on. I used Bacon Bond on the clay, smushed the film on, and then I put Bacon Bond on top. That's why there's Bacon Bond. When it came out of the oven, this is what it looked like. Then I did one where I just put Bacon Bond on the clay and nothing on the top. This is just a piece I just baked in the oven just to see what would happen. And then I did one where I just smushed it on raw clay to see what would happen. And then I put some stuff on top of it with Bacon Bond to see how it sticks to it. So to me, in my test, the best way this went was just putting it on raw clay. Sorry about that. Anyway, so this is my pack of Angelina film, and I haven't done anything with it. From YouTubing, it looks like a lot of people use it for like fairy wings and stuff. So this is one color here, and they're kind of like plasticky. Now I know what I'm going to use is going to show through this. I know this dark color is going to show through. This is the one I used already, which kind of gave me this. And almost each side seems kind of different, actually. I don't know if it is or not. This one, I'm trying to decide which one I want to use. This just came in a pack. I think that's too pink. That looks too purple. I actually may go with one of the oranger looking ones. It's lighter than the rest though. I might actually go with the one I already was using. Now I could use foils, like silver foil, and alcohol ink it, but I wanted to try to use this. So again, I'm doing a couple batches, so maybe I'll figure something better out for my next one. So I want to try to cut two shapes out of this. I want to cut one for the end here and one for this point here. And I don't really quite know how to go about this, so to get it exactly what I want. Maybe some tweezers will work better. There's a little fat right here. And all I did was just burnish it on really well. And we'll see how this sticks. And I was going to do another one for down here. It's hard to do this. Stuff's like really flimsy. Looks a little fat. A little spot that's overhanging right here, but I think I might try leaving it and see what happens. See if I can just trim it with my Dremel later when I trim out my whole piece with one of my burrs. Like I said, I just got this stuff kind of by accident. I thought it was foil when I was first starting, and I didn't realize it was something different. So maybe I'll bake that for a half hour at 275 and see what I get with that. Make sure I didn't flatten out any of this texture. Let me bake that half hour, 275, because I'm going to be baking it a few more times too. Okay, so it's out of the oven. I just wanted to show you, I also made another couple sets of these on top of the one I did on the video for my mom and my sister. So just if you need some more ideas for things to put on. You know, the little small flowers are just 5 circles. So I made these for my mom and my sister. I still gotta put the magnets on them. I just finished them. yeah, those are done. That's what I've been working on the last few days. Because they're fun and easy, and you can put on a movie, and they remind me of Pogs. So they remind me of Pogs. I know some of you like these shorter videos, but other people miss the banter. So I do have one long video saved from before the coronavirus. So I'll probably release that one soon. It's a long video before we were all quarantined. So this just came out of the oven here. And I think what I'm going to do next is work on trimming up my shape here. So I think, as you guys know, I have tons of bits for my Dremel. I just pulled out two of my skinniest one. One of them's a carbide, one of them's a diamond bit. This one I used to trim plastic with, so it does have some plastic on it, but it still should be fine. And I'm going to go around the edges and trim. I might go around this wide edge with my sandpaper barrel. And the other thing is, someone asked me the other day, they were having issues with buffing. Now, when you're buffing with your tips, you're not putting any pressure. You're just, sorry, I was just eating chocolates covered strawberries. Looks like I had chocolate on my finger. It might have been clay. But when you're buffing, you're not putting any pressure. You're just trying to get these little tips to touch. If you, they showed me a picture on Facebook, and I could totally see the gouge marks. They went from sanding to buffing, and they really, so when you're buffing, you're holding your Dremel up off your piece. You're not laying it on your piece and with the buffing wheel. You're holding it off and lightly buffing. When you're looking to trim with your buffing wheels, or when you're trimming, you're putting a little bit of pressure, but not when you're buffing. Side note. Okay, I'm going to bring you over my lap, and I'm going to trim this. Again, my Dremel is a reconditioned one because it was cheaper, and I got it off Amazon. It's refurbished. It's a Dremel 4000. It's variable speeds, so you just push your lock button, put your bit in, tighten it up, finger is still down on the lock button, give it a pull, make sure it's down. I have this about speed 15 right now, but let's see. I'm not sure what speed I'll need. And I am going to bevel the back like I usually do. I've showed you that before. So I'm taking this bit and I'm kind of going in this angle so I can bevel the back of this a little bit. And that way the back doesn't show from the front. Like right in there you can see the back showing. I don't like that. So I tend to bevel my piece towards the back. So I just got a new desk chair and it has an arm, which is kind of harder to do this. So clean up your shape pretty much. And even with this, I'm not putting a lot of pressure. Now this barrel is a 400 grit, but I've had it for probably 6 or 8 months, so I'm sure it's a lot finer than 400 grit as of now. And you could just trim up your shape with regular sandpaper too. Now I'm not really pushing, I'm just doing light because I don't want to gouge into this. And now this line here where I scored it is throwing me off, but that will be covered up. I'm just trying to get rid of the big stuff right now. The big areas where I didn't cut it perfectly. So you can see it's beveled right there, the back is. So it's on it like a slant right here. Okay, so let me get to one of these. I'll probably have to use... The carbide bits can sometimes gouge. The diamond are a little bit finer. Or at least my diamonds are. You can get coarse diamond bits. At least in the dental world you can. We use diamond bits to trim all the time. We call them burrs in the dental world. You know, and so like the other day I called this a chuck. And someone said, is it a chuck or is it, they used another word, I don't remember. And I'm like, well, in the dental world, we call this the chuck that holds the burr. And on our drills that we use, they're generally friction grit, but there are ones that are like this that you can twist and close on drills that we use to drill teeth. And we have bigger ones like this that we use to make like temporary crowns. You know, so I've had a lot of practice when I was a dental assistant making fake teeth. And I mean, temporary crowns or caps. And I mean, those are tiny. Teeth are small. And you have to get the anatomy right, otherwise it'll hurt. So I've had a lot of years experience using stuff like this outside of the art world. Even though I've only been using clay for about a year. It's probably been a little over a year right now. This is a really fine burr, so it's not trimming much each time, which is good. But for gross removal, I may want to use something, that carbide one that's a little more coarse. And then go back through with my finer one. And I'm really holding up here, which is why I like this one, this Dremel, because there's enough room to hold up here and not hit my lock button accidentally and grind the gear and make it stop. Little bits at a time. And I would flip it upside down, but it's kind of weird to do that because I can't really see from the front side. So I'm going to finish doing this off camera until I get my piece to where I want it, and then I'll be back. Now that it's pretty much trimmed, you're going to get these little weird bits. I don't know if I can get that. See? So I'll just take my wheel to it, and just to try to clean up any kind of edges. And I know I'm around speed 15 on my Dremel. Again, I'm not pushing down really hard. I'm just kind of getting off any little excess bits. So I still have more to this to do. It's definitely not done. But I wanted to clean up my shape a little bit. Yes, it's cold down in my basement. People asked the other day, someone said, why are you wearing a black coat? And I just responded, it's my bathrobe. They said, is it cold where you are? In northeast of the U.S., in the northeast portion of Vermont, it's cold. It's been in the 40s. We did hit the 50s the last couple days. Low 50s. But it's still cloudy, no sun. My basement's 53 degrees right now. So yeah, it's chilly still. No, I'm not getting any sun yet. If we do, it's very little quick bursts of sun. flung it. Okay. And you can see where that Angelina film was hanging over right there. A little bit there. I wonder if I can cut that off. If not, what I'll do is, first, I could not fit down in here with my Dremel. So I'm just going to try to clean any of this out with my blade. Any clay that I may have had stuck down in here. Just with my craft knife. And I'll see if I can trim this Angelina film without peeling it off. Seems hard to. But that's all going to be covered up anyway, so don't worry about it too much now. Okay. So nitpick as much as you want. Get your shape as perfect as you want it. And the next thing we're going to need is our extruder. So I'm going to take some of this brown clay that I have, that we used, and I'm going to use my extruder. So first I'm going to recondition it and get it all warmed up and ready to go. And that way it's easier to put through your extruder. The other thing we're going to need is the smallest round you have. Well, that's what I plan on using, so let me find, I think that's around right there. That's my smallest one. So I'm going to use that, I think. Yep. Now, I plan on using Swelligant on this, but you could have, if you wanted to take some mica powder, you could have mica'd this already before you baked it. But I kind of want to use some Swelligant because I haven't used it and I have it, so I want to use it. So I'm going to recondition this up and get it in my extruder, and then I'll extrude out a bunch of the smallest circle that I have. Okay? Okay, so I have some of the extruded brown out, just a little bit of it. I don't need tons right now. And then I also have some bacon bond right here on the side. I'm going to use a little silicone tool. You could use your needle tool. And I'm going to put it along the edges is what I planned on. So I'm just going to brush on some of this bacon bond. And I've only baked this piece so far for 30 minutes. Because I plan on doing multiple things to this. Or I planned on doing multiple bakes. So I'm going to kind of put a border on this guy. And because the clay is not raw anymore, I do need something. You don't need tons, just a little something to get it to stick. And on this Angelina film to get it to stick to that too, because when I did my self-test, it stuck onto the Angelina film, but I did use bacon bond. That's why it said my score lines won't really matter, because I had the lines on here because I planned on putting this on it. And I do think I want to do a little bit more to this Angelina film. Whether I use some interference paints I have, or some pearl alcohol inks on top of it. or something, but I'm going to do that after this part. And I haven't decided, I know I'm going to resin over where the Angelina film's going, but I haven't decided if I'm going to resin the whole piece or not. I'm just going to get further in and then I'll decide later. Okay, that should be enough. So then all I'm going to do is just lay this tiny little hard to pick up strip and I may speed this up as well. So just lay it on there. I'm going to speed this up because it's going to take me a little bit. Now you did see me try to wipe some of this bacon bond off here because I am going to bake this outside first. I'm too afraid when I get into the middle here that I'll squish what I've already done. So I'm going to bake it for, 20 minutes or so just to get it kind of set up. So that way as I mess around with this inside part here, I won't risk ruining my outside. Now, some people have mentioned in the past when I've baked in stages like this, like, why don't you just use your heat gun? Well, you could use your heat gun to set it, but say you happen to push down just a little too hard, you'll crack it. The heat gun makes it it makes it firm, yes, but it makes it brittle like a potato chip. So I would just rather take my time. I'm going to spend this time to make this, and I have plenty of time while we're all in quarantine. Make sure it's to your liking and where you're happy, and then I'm just using a ball tool to kind of get it where I want it, and then kind of pat it there with my finger. You can also roll it with your finger a little bit, but so anyways, I'm gonna bake it in the oven at the 275 for just a few minutes, just to get it not completely, as hard as it's going to be in a proper baking time and temperature. I'll do temperature but not time, and then I'll do the same thing on the inside. I'm just nitpicking, making sure it's to my outside border as much as it can be without hanging over. And it's, you know, and that's why I was saying don't worry about your trimming too much. You can always trim it a little bit more later, but you did want a shape that you wanted to follow and that you were happy with. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. So I think, you know, in my oven I am laying a piece of parchment, non-wax parchment or paper. I'm laying it over it like this, okay, in my oven to help protect it from scorching. Now, I'm trying to decide if I want to do something else to this Angelina film, and I'm wondering if I should just wait a little bit longer. Yeah, I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Let me get it in the oven. So everything's baked except for the inner right in here. That's my last part. Just by looking at it at the angle, I don't know if I'm happy with something. Hang on. So before I bake it, I was going to try to add some alcohol inks onto the Angelina film, and I'm going to maybe go with a pink tone, I don't know, to try to brighten it up. So I have the mixative, the pearl mixative. I have the pinata pink, which kind of comes out that color. It's almost like the Ranger Raspberry is very similar. And then I have the Pearl Ranger Enchanted. I was just going to add a little bit in. I can always add more later after it's baked. I don't want to add too much, but I'm afraid to drip it because I only want to get it in that. Oh, that's going to be a big drop. Only in that spot. See, it's leaking out, leaking out. I knew it was going to do that. Ugh, how did I know? Which shouldn't actually matter because I'm going to put it, actually that shouldn't really matter because I'm going to put the, what's it called on top of it? Swelligant on top of it later. going to take some alcohol to that to wipe that off because I don't want that to show through later at all. I don't want to risk it. So I'm going to take some alcohol and wipe that off. So I probably should wait it until it was baked, and I probably shouldn't have just dropped a drop on there. I should have just... I knew that was going to be too big of a drop. So I'm just taking a little 99% alcohol and wiping it off. Now remember, this clay hasn't been baked crazy either. But it did change that color for sure. And then I was going to put some of the regular pearl. Even going to try to pink it up a little bit with some pink. I don't know. You could use whatever color you want. I was just thinking later with the Swelligants, they tend to go like greens and stuff, so this might be a cool contrast. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll decide later if I should have gone with more blue or yellow or orange. I don't know, I was just kind of playing with it. Okay, so I'm going to bake that because the center part is not baked yet. Hang on. And I moved this a little bit, so I'm going to move this back. Okay, this will be my final bake, so I'm going to bake it for a full hour, 275, because it's mainly Primo. It might have a little bit of Cernit in the metallic, but I usually always go with 275 for a full hour because I believe this is going to be the final bake. And then when I'm done, we'll apply some resin, and we'll also apply some Swelligant. Okay, so it's completely out of the oven, and I was just saying here, I had to speed this up because the video is getting too long. The people message me all the time and go, my clay is way more flexible than yours. What I was saying is I don't sit here and bend my clay. That was a piece I only baked for 30 minutes, but I don't sit here and show you on videos how flexible my clay is. This was just a scrap piece on setting 4, so it's really thin, and I only baked it for 30 minutes, so it's not properly baked. But I don't sit here and bend all these pieces all the time to just show you how flexible it is. So yes, my pieces are flexible as well. So I'm going to be using the Easy Dome resin, and it's not my most favorite or preferred resin. One, it does not distort any pieces because it's a 30-minute curing time. You'll see here on like the Decor ROM and the QIAO one, I get some distortion. But on the RJ Crafts, I don't get any distortion. And I don't want anything to start bending, these little pieces to start bending up as it creates a dome and pulls the resin from the edges into the middle. Now, the Easy Dome resin is my most expensive resin, and it takes the longest to get from RJ Crafts, and I think she's not doing any new orders at the moment. So I'm just doing a thin coat of this. It is one of the thinner consistencies as well, so I tend to get more spills with this one, but it was the first one I bought, and I still have quite a bit of it left. So I'm just going to do a thin layer of this just to cure it, stiffen it up, and then go with my normal Deco-A-Rama on top of that. So I'm just using my torch on a very low flame and just quickly tapping it. You can burn your piece. You can burn the resin. You're just doing a low flame, tap, 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 done. Okay? You're not sitting there holding the flame on anything. So I'm going to do a few layers of resin and keep doming. So I've kind of domed my pieces there. And it is still hanging. I don't know if you could see that, very straight. So when I put a jump ring on the top, it's holding straight. So when you're designing your own pieces, you want to kind of think of that. And if it's too heavy, it might kick it one way or the other. The next thing I'm going to be doing is applying Swelligant to this. Now, the Swelligant was designed by Christy Friesen, and there's already a tutorial on YouTube that I learned how to apply it. And so I have a tutorial that shows you all the colors. Now, I bought all the colors just, maybe 8 or 9 months ago thinking, okay, great. But I didn't know what they would look like. So I did a quick, one of my first videos just showing you not how to apply it, not anything like that, but what each color does with what each patina, because there's a different patina that goes with each paint, and they do different things. So I've picked the ones I liked, and I'm going to do different colors. I'm going to use the bronze. These are the metal coatings, the bronze. I'm going to use brass and copper, and then I'm going to do a little bit of iron here and there. Okay, and then I'm also going to do on top of the iron, I'm going to do some gold green patina. And then on the copper, brass, and bronze, I'm going to use the Tiffany green rust patina. And you apply, from what I remember from watching the video a while back, you apply a layer of paint, let it dry. You may apply a second layer. And then on the one you're going to start getting it to rust, you apply the paint. And while it's still wet, then you apply the patina. So I'm going to do that sped up. Again, there's already a video on YouTube that I watched of how to apply Swelligant. But my video that I did a couple months, more than a couple months, like a year ago, showed you the color combinations. That way, if you want to buy a specific patina with a specific metal coating, you can. Because there's like 4 of these patinas that give you a different color with each metal coating. I know it's kind of confusing, but go back and see my video. So that way you don't have to buy the full set. Because there's definitely some I would not have bought. There's this blue sapphire patina one that I really don't like. But that's just me. So anyways, I'm going to stop talking. And I'm going to get to working on this. So this is my first coat. I'm just dabbing on different colors here. And I'm going to let this first coat dry completely. Now, whatever colors you want to use, you can use. And when I did watch the YouTube video by Christy Friesen on how to apply this, she did apply it differently. And I do have some of the patinas in a mister bottle. You could put on a sponge. I'm just doing it this way. So this coat that I'm applying now is just the base coat that I'm going to let dry completely. Just putting on a little bit of the iron, that gives you a really, with the gold green one, gives you a really irony look, like actual car rust, no green in it. So here I'm applying the second coat, and I'm trying to apply quickly because I'm going to let it, I want it wet when I apply the patina to it. And I'm using the Tiffany green, mainly the Tiffany green / rust color patina on top of most of this, except for on the iron, I'm using the gold green because that gives you, like I said, like the brown car rust color. But again, go see my tutorial on that. So see how it kind of foams up a little bit? That's what it's supposed to do. You're not going to see the change right off. It happens over time. So I'm just dabbing it on with a brush. So this is after about 10 minutes here, sitting. See how it's kind of weird? This is after about 20 minutes. 30 minutes. An hour and a half. Okay, it's been about 2.5 hours, and this is where I'm at so far. And it's still doing, it gets weird. It like foams up at first, and it's still doing its thing. The iron shows up this brown. That's what the iron is. It shows up that like real true rust. The others show up a little green with the combination that I used with the Tiffany green rust patina. I'm going to add a little more of the bronze in certain areas where it must have dried before I got the patina effect on it. So I'm going to add a little more of that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the amount. You can do the back too, but maybe I'll do the back later. And I'm not worried about it being on my resin, which is why I resin this, because I'm just going to take some alcohol to it later and get all that off. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. So you need the paint to be wet when you add your patina on it. And I just shook it up really well. So I'm going to add some more in here. Maybe a little dot there. And you know, other people will miss this on. You can apply the patinas in many different ways. This is just how I'm doing it. And it gets all weird. It kind of bubbles up and gets like foamy looking and stuff. But again, there's already tutorials of how to do it. That's, you know, Christy Friesen already has a tutorial on how to do this. And the ideal way to do this. I might not be doing it ideally. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the look of it. But I'll definitely want to give it a full 24 hours to do its thing. I might, in the meantime, take a Q-tip with a little alcohol and try to clean off those little guys. Maybe I'll apply a little bit more right here. And that's why I did a brown color, because I knew if any of my actual clay showed through, it'd kind of go well. Okay. And I know I was showing you kind of time lapses of what it does, because it takes time for it to fully react and do its thing. Okay, I'm going to let it keep going. Like I said, I might take a Q-tip in the meantime and try to wipe off my resin a little bit, but that is really what I was kind of going for. Okay, so it's been sitting. I'm going to apply some Liquitex matte varnish. Now, you're going to see here really quickly that it gets weird. It starts to react with it. Like, I can't even spread it at all. And it does not go clear, so I wiped this off. I contacted Christy Friesen to ask her about her, because they make a prep solution and they make a sealant, and I ordered the sealant, so I don't have it yet. But you see how it's weird and cloudy? So I tried to wipe a lot of this off with 99% alcohol, because I don't want to resin it, but I need to seal it with something. So I'm going to reapply some of my patinas because I did end up wiping some of it off because it reacted with that Liquitex. I don't know about the Sculpies. I'd have to test the Sculpey varnishes, the Fimo varnishes, all of that kind of stuff to see if it would react with that or not. Christy Friesen said at least with the surface sealant that goes with the Swelligant, thin coats are the best. So that's what I'm going to do Friday when it comes in. I'm going to use the Swelligant sealant, and she does have a matte one, so that's what I'm going to use. This is the bigger one that I started here, and rather than using the Angelina film, I'm just going to paint right in here white with a little acrylic. That's what I'm doing now. And then I'm going to use some metallic paints as well. I have a metallic paint and then an interference paint, and then I'm going to use some silver foil. So just use what you have. I'm going to try to get that stone look, like a gemstone, under the resin. That's the whole point of the pink and the Angelina film and all of this. I want to try a different way to do this. Use what you have to try to create something under here. Maybe I could have put some glitter in here, you know, all kinds of things. So I'm just going to take little pieces of silver foil in this one. Other than that, this one's going to be done the same exact way other than this part, which is why I was showing you this part. And then hopefully in 5 days I'll get the sealant for the surfaces, and I'll do that, and we'll see the finished pieces. I'm excited. I've got to wait 5 days for the sealant to come because I just ordered it. And we'll see if that works better. So I'm going to do the border and everything the same way I did the other one. I'm doing multiple bakes just because I'm more comfortable with it that way. And yeah, I think that will look cool under resin when it's done. Okay, these are finally finished after waiting a week for the varnish to come. That did end up working. So let me just tell you what I got. This goes with Swelligant. They also make a prep for different surfaces. This is the clear sealant. It came in a matte finish that I found on Amazon. And it says to apply it in thin coats, multiple coats. So I just brushed it on like I showed you I was doing with the Liquitex. Sculpey, the Sculpey varnishes also reacted the same. I tried it on the back. It also reacted really weird and kind of bubbled up and got all funky. So I would definitely use the Swelligant sealer. So that's what I used. And I did not drill a hole in these. I just put a jump ring through the top and then through my bail. So just opened it, slid it through. And that way it has a little bit more easy movement when it's like just dangling. So here's the littler one. I think they're really cool. And I wish the camera picked up like how green they are truly. They really look like rusted metal in real life. See how jaggedy it is and stuff? You can feel that texture. It's pretty awesome, actually. If you're going for that look, you know. It's not going to be everybody's look. And it's not my look every day, you know. But I want to see all the jaggedy textures. You know, you want something different every now and then. Yeah. So I hope this gives you guys inspiration. Even just using, you know, this style of pendant and drawing your own. It was fun for me, that's for sure. So, you know, again, let me just take one of these off here. I'll quickly show you. So I just put the jump ring through here. So that way it can just dangle. It'd probably be really small, like pretty earrings. I really like them. I think they're funky and different and just fun. Honestly, this size probably wouldn't be a bad earring size either. Like a going out earring, honestly. This is about inch and 3/4, you know. Put a stud on that, whether it's this way, or put a you know, not a stud, but a dangle on it. I can't think of the word right now, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so these are done, and I had fun with them. I really, really did. I hope you guys enjoyed it too.